Hi, I'm Ella and welcome to another Dice Tower preview. Today I'm taking a look at Hike. It is published by Snowboard Games and plays with 2 to 6 players in about 15 to 30 minutes. It's for ages 8 and above. Please remember this is a paid promotion and everything you see here is in prototype form. Hike is a light and fast card drafting racing game with huskies. Players take on the role of mushers, also called dog drivers, who assemble their husky sleds and race through the snowy wilderness. Because this is a race, you will have landscape cards on the table, with a start and finish, and this is where your huskies will be traveling on. Your team is represented by a cube that will move along this track. Each player has 8 remaining cubes, and these represent a spot on your husky sled for a husky card. At the start of the game, in the player's hand will be 2 husky cards and +1 cards, which allow them to draw more cards from the husky deck. The husky deck is where you draft the huskies that will hopefully let you win the race. The players also get care cards, which let you use your huskies again when you're racing. Hike is played in 2 phases. It begins with preparations and then with a race. In preparations, players reveal cards from the husky deck and draft huskies to assemble their sleds or gather equipment and care cards. The racetrack is also slowly revealed as the landscape cards are turned face up. In the race, players use their husky movement points to move across the racetrack on the landscape cards. They use equipment and care cards to advance during the race. The rounds in the game are called days, and each phase takes several days to complete. Now, the player who was on the snow recently starts the game. You begin the day by revealing a landscape card. Start with the one closest to the start and continue towards the finish. Then during their turn, each player reveals 2 cards from the husky deck, unless the rotated landscape card is revealed, which means they turn over 1 card. They can also discard +1 cards from their card to reveal more cards from the husky deck. Now they can perform one of the actions available, plus do a bonus action if they choose to, or say they are ready to race. Players draft a husky to their sled by taking a husky card from the table and placing it in their sled, following placement rules. The huskies go on free spaces marked by cubes. If there is already a husky next to the space that is chosen, the card's borders must match the neighboring cards that are already in the sled. For example, I can place this card here, here, and here, but I can't place it here. Youngster huskies match any border. They can also draft a card to their hand by taking a card from the table. This is often used to gather equipment and care cards. Players can also place a husky to the sled from their hand, remembering the placement rules. And lastly, they can swap a husky in the sled by taking a card from their hand and swapping it with the one on the sled. There is also a bonus action where players can place a youngster husky from the table or from their hand to the sled, which helps you complete your sled faster. Now, if their sled is complete and they don't wish to draw more cards, they can also declare they're ready to race. They move their extra cube to the start landscape, place any husky cards in their hand to the table, and they can also, if they choose to, upgrade an experienced husky which has 1 movement point by placing an equipment card from their hand under the husky card. Movement points are important because the more you have, the faster you can travel to the finish line. Huskies with more than 1 movement point and youngsters can't be upgraded. Also, these equipment cards stay with the husky until the end of the race. Once a person is declared they're racing, they only draw from their care card deck to their hand and can do nothing else until the race begins. The preparation phase only continues a maximum of 3 more days. If all of the players have declared they're ready to race, and so are on the start before that, the preparation ends at the end of the day. Then the race begins. Players spend the husky movement points to move on the field. If you notice, there are symbols on some husky cards. These are movement points that match the terrains on the landscape card. Let's go through the husky movement using this team. We use husky A to move here, then place a cube on it to show we've used that husky. Then you can continue using as many huskies as you can in any order that you want. For example, I can use husky C to move here, then G to move here. H to move here, D to move here, and B to move here. Once you run out of movement points to use, you stop for the day. Remember that equipment cards can give you more movement. You can use care cards to reuse huskies, and also some landscape cards require equipment to move through. You have to discard an equipment card from your hand in order to do this. After all the players have taken their turn, the day ends. Now the game ends if at the end of the day, one player has reached the last field of the racing track. This is a race after all. And that is a preview of Hike. If this is your kind of game, check out the Kickstarter link in the description below. Again, I'm Ella. See you next time.